Hi guys, welcome to my channel CADiologist. Today's tutorial is a good exercise for the polar tracking from status bar and the TTR option of circle command. If you are uncertain about how to do any of the commands in this exercise, you could always go back to tutorials 1 to 6 of this course to learn more about it. My mission here is to assist you learning to draw in AutoCAD. And to do that, I will provide you with a lot of exercises to enhance your drawing skills. But first, you need to smash that subscription button and gently ring the notification bell to be alert of new materials. I left some timestamps in the video timeline to make skipping around easy. Do your best to watch until the end so you don't miss on the important details. In this video, we will draw and dimension together a steel forged hook and a ship anchor. When you open AutoCAD, click on Start Drawing from the interface. If the grid is activated, turn it off from the status bar or use F7 key to turn it on and off. Type units in the command line and make sure drawing units type is decimal, precision is 0.0, draw units is millimeter. Type LA to open Layer Properties Manager and create a layer named Object. Create another layer for dimensioning and one more layer for text. Change the color of text and dimension layers to gray number 8. Double-click the object layer to set it as the current layer, then close Layer Properties Manager. Make sure Ortho Mode is activated. Click on this little arrow of OSnap and check Endpoint, Midpoint, Center, Geometric Center, Intersection, and Perpendicular modes. Before you start the drawing, be sure to save the file and keep doing that from time to time to avoid losing your drawing and effort by mistake. If you are saving for the first time, click on Save from the Quick Access toolbar. Choose the file location and type the name. Then click on Save. Click on the Application button, click on Options, go to Open and Save tab. In the File Safety Precautions, make sure Automatic Save is checked and at every 10 minutes. Moreover, you can click on Ctrl+S to save your progress anytime you want. Draw a circle of 15 mm diameter. Make an offset of the circle 10 mm outward. Then copy it down 75 mm. Select this circle and go to Properties palette, which can be accessed through Ctrl+1. In the Geometry field, change the radius to 50 mm. Activate Circle command and snap the center point mark. Specify the radius to be 50 mm. Click on Space to repeat the Circle command, since it was the last tool executed in AutoCAD, and choose the TTR option from the command line. Specify the first point tangent to this circle and the second point tangent to this circle. Then type 10 mm for the radius. Select this circle again and change its radius to 35 mm. Draw one X line tangent to this circle and this circle, and another tangent to this circle and this circle. Type TR to activate Trim command. Click on Space again to make AutoCAD assumes all objects in the drawing area selected. Then follow me trimming all the parts we don't want. Draw a circle of 30 mm radius at this center point mark. Copy it left 40 mm. Select the copy and go to Properties palette. In the Geometry tab, change the radius to 25 mm. Then, move this circle downward 5 mm. Activate Circle command again. Choose the TTR option from the command line. Specify the first point tangent to this circle and the second point tangent to this circle. Then type 5 mm for the radius. Click on space to repeat the circle command and use the TTR option again in the same manner explained before to draw a 20 mm radius circle tangent to these two. Activate the trim command. Click on space so AutoCAD can assume all objects selected, and follow me trimming all the parts we don't want. Finally, select the whole object and type J for join. This is the steel hook, and now we will continue the drawing with the ship anchor. Draw a circle of 200 mm radius. Copy it downward 50 mm and change its radius to 190 mm from the Properties palette. Click on this little arrow of polar tracking and select polar path increment to be by 5 degrees. Draw an X-line at this center point mark through the 90 degrees path, 350 degrees path, 335 degrees path, and 325 degrees path. Then click on F8 to go back to ortho mode. Make 50 mm offset for this circle outward. Select this X-line and trim this part. Select this circle and trim the X-lines. Then delete it. Type LT in the command line and hit space. In the line type manager, click on Load. Scroll down until you find Center. Click on OK. OK again. Now, window select this object and go to Properties palette. Change the color to gray number 8 and line type to center. Select this line and the two circles. Right-click your mouse anywhere in the drawing area. Go to Isolate and choose Isolate Objects. Type BO for boundary creation. Pick the internal point somewhere here and hit Enter. Click on the Isolate tab from the status bar and select End Object Isolation. Activate Circle command. Choose the TTR option from the command line. Specify the first point tangent to this line and the second point tangent to this arc. Then type 20 mm for the radius. Repeat the same command to draw another circle on the opposite side. Click on space to repeat the circle command again. Choose 3P option from the command line. Specify the first point at this intersection mark. The second point will be at this center point mark and the third point at this intersection mark. Select the circle and activate Mirror command through the shortcut MIR. Specify first point of mirror line at this intersection mark and the second one here. Click on space to end the command. Select these circles and this object. Click on the Isolate tab in the status bar and choose Isolate Objects. Click on this little arrow of Hatch tool and choose Boundary. Pick the internal point somewhere here, hit space to end the command, then select all circles and delete them. End Object Isolation. Window select this part and mirror it around this line. Select these two objects and explode them through the shortcut X. Now we can select this line and delete it. Windows select this part and click on the Join tool from Modify panel to combine all curved objects into one single object. Draw a 240 by 10 mm rectangle somewhere here. Select it and move it from this midpoint mark to this endpoint mark. Use the TTR option of Circle command and draw a circle of 15 mm radius here. Then mirror the circle to the opposite side. Type PO for boundary creation, pick the internal point somewhere here and here, and hit space, then delete these circles. Make a 30 mm offset for this circle. Select the circle and offset it 10 mm in this direction. Use the TTR option of Circle command to draw a circle of 10 mm radius between the rectangle and this circle. Then mirror it to the opposite side. Activate boundary creation command and pick the internal point somewhere here. Then delete these circles. Draw a 60 by 20 mm rectangle somewhere here and another rectangle 30 by 5 mm. Move it from the midpoint mark and attach it here in the middle. Select the rectangle, click on this point or vertex and move it to this endpoint mark. Do the same on the opposite side. Windows select both rectangles and move them from this midpoint mark to this intersection point. Offset this line 22.5 mm on both sides. Draw a line from this point to here and another from here to this point. Then delete these lines. Now make sure object snap tracking is on. Then activate Circle command and put the cursor over this midpoint mark. When you move it slowly upward, you will see a vertical path. Type 20 mm to specify the circle center point and type 40 mm for the radius. Make an offset of 10 mm for this circle, 5 mm for this rectangle, and 10 mm for this rectangle. Select this rectangle and trim these parts of the circles. Select this rectangle and trim this part and this part. Select both circles and trim this rectangle from here. Select this line and this circle, then go to Isolate tab, click on Hide Objects. Draw a horizontal X-line at this geometric center mark. Then move it downward 15 mm. Activate boundary creation and pick an internal point somewhere here. Then delete these parts. Move the X-line 12 mm upward, then copy it 12 mm in this direction. Activate boundary creation, pick an internal point here and here, then hit space. Move both X-lines 3 mm outward. Draw one vertical X-line at this endpoint mark and move it left 10 mm. Again, activate boundary creation and pick an internal point here. Then delete all X-lines. Mirror this rectangle, which represents a bolt head, along this midpoint mark to the opposite side. Click on Isolate tab and end object isolation. Finally, delete these circles and adjust this line to be 20 mm from both sides of the object. Move the ship anchor to be 500 mm away from the steel hook. Dimensioning. From Properties palette, which can be accessed through Ctrl+1 key, change the layer to Dim for dimensioning. Type D and hit space to open Dimension Style Manager. Click on New and type Dim01, then Continue. In the Lines tab, make sure baseline spacing is 3.75, Extend beyond dimension lines 1.25, Offset from original 1. In the Symbols and Arrows tab, change arrow size to 1.8, make sure dimension brick size is 3.75, and go to Text tab. Change text height to 2. In the text placement field, make sure vertical is set to above and horizontal is set to centered. Change offset from dimension line to 1. In the text alignment field, check aligned with dimension line. In the Fit tab, make sure overall scale is selected and the value is 1. In the primary units, set the precision of linear dimensions to 0 and the same for angular dimensions. Then click on OK. The dimension style I just created shall be used for any object will be printed with a scale of 1:1, like the steel hook, but the ship anchor will be printed with a scale of 1:2, and we must create another dimension style for that, since the scale is different. Make sure Dim01 is selected and click on New. The style name will be Dim02, and it will have the exact same setting as Dim01. Click on Continue. Go to Fit tab and change the scale to 2. Then click OK and close. Go to Annotate tab. Select Dim01 style. Click on Linear and measure the distance from center of this circle to this circle. If you place the cursor over this center point mark and then move it slowly left, you should see a horizontal path. Place the dimension 5 mm along this path. Type DIMC for dimension continue and measure the distance up to this center point mark. Click on Escape to end the command. Note, sometimes you have to place the cursor over the circle boundary in order to see the center point mark, so you can snap it either for drawing or dimensioning. Type DLI to activate linear dimension again. Measure the distance from this center point mark to this center point mark. Choose diameter from the dimension list. Measure this circle and place the dimension somewhere here. Click on space to repeat the command and measure this circle. Activate radius dimension through the shortcut DIMR to measure all remaining circles and arcs of the steel hook. And you guys could follow me doing the same. Remember to use the space button every time to repeat the command. Now, let's dimension the steel anchor. First, we need to change the dimension style to Dim02. Then, I will use the linear and continue dimension commands to measure all important sides of the anchor. And you guys could follow me doing the same. Alright, select diameter from the dimension list, measure this circle, and this circle. Activate Radius Dimension to measure all remaining circles and arcs of the object. And you could follow me doing the same. But again, don't forget to use the space button every time to repeat the command. When you are done, activate Angular Dimension from the list and measure this angle, and this angle. Go to Properties palette and change the layer to text. Click on this little arrow of the text panel, create a new text style and name it Tempest Sans ITC. Change the font name to Tempest Sans ITC. Click on Set Current, Yes, and Close. Click on this little arrow of Leaders tab. Click New and type ML02 for the style name. In the Leader Format tab, change arrowhead size to 1.8. In the Leader Structure tab, change landing distance to 4 and make sure the scale is 2. In the Content tab, change text style to Tempest Sans ITC and text height to 2. In the Leader Connection field, change landing gap to 1. Click OK and close. Click on Multi-Leader. Specify leader arrowhead location at this midpoint mark. Specify leader landing location somewhere here. Type M12 threaded road. Activate text command through the shortcut MT. I will insert the text on this side. Check middle left for justification and type Ship Anchor. Select the text and go to Properties palette, change text height to 10. Copy the text, click on F8 to turn ortho mode off and place it somewhere here. Click twice on the text and type Steel Forged Hook. Change the height to 4, then close the editor. Adjust the text location close to the object. Now, we need to prepare the sheet to print the drawing. Go to Layout Sheet, select the existing viewport and delete it. Right-click Layout 1 and rename it to Exercise 10. Right-click Exercise 10 and go to Page Setup Manager, where we can set the sheet size, orientation, quality, and many other things. Click on Modify, change the printer name to DWG to PDF. Make sure the paper size ISO full pleat A3 is selected, check scale line weights, and make sure landscape orientation is selected. Then click on OK and close. Type viewport and hit space. Choose to vertical and click OK. The command line is asking to specify the first corner, or just click on space for fit. If you go to Layer Properties Manager, you could see a layer created automatically and named Div Points. It was generated when the first dimension was created in the drawing. This layer is unprintable and stores information about definition points of dimensions. It's usually used for the viewports and for any detail in the drawing you don't want to print. So select the viewports and go to Properties, then change the layer to Div Points. Now, to print the drawing, we need to insert the title block we created together in tutorial 15 of this course. Remember, title block is a template for the sheet you want to print, and it involves imperative information to identify the drawing. So, I will open exercise 8 that we did in tutorial 15 and copy the title block from there. Select the title block and its content. Type CO and select Copy Base. Specify the base point as mentioned in the command line. Click on this mark and go to exercise 10. Click on Ctrl+V for paste command and place the title block at this endpoint mark. Select the viewports and adjust the boundaries to be inside the title block. Click on Scale from the status bar and check 1:1. Double-click inside this viewport. Then click and hold the mouse scroll wheel to adjust the drawing location. If the scale is changed while moving, you could simply adjust it back as we did before. Click on the lock sign to lock the viewport and prevent any changes for the scale. Click twice somewhere here outside the viewport. Cross-select both viewports, snap this point, and move it right a distance of 80 mm in order to adjust the viewport's size and leave enough space for the second object we drew in this tutorial. Double-click inside the second viewport. Click and hold the mouse scroll wheel to move the drawing area towards the ship anchor. As you can see, we cannot place this object inside the A3 sheet if the scale is 1:1. In this case, we need to increase the drawing scale in this viewport to 1:2. After that, try to adjust the object in the middle of the viewport. Then click on the lock sign to prevent any changes for the scale. Now, I need you guys to understand something important here. If you have 2, 3, 4 objects in the sheet, and these objects are of different scale, then you must mention the scale of each object. Go inside each viewport and adjust the text to include the scale value. If the title block includes a logo, and for some reason the logo disappears when you copy the title block from one drawing to another, we can help AutoCAD to locate the logo and resolve this issue by using the xref command. This is my logo, and the status shows that it's not found. Click it twice, locate your logo, and click on Open. Change the drawing title to Tutorial 17-Exercise 10. Change the scale to as shown, since we have more than a scale. Change the date and the drawing number to YT for YouTube, CAD for AutoCAD, TT17 for tutorial number 17, EX for exercise, 010 for the exercise number. Click on Ctrl+P to open plot setting. If this window pops up, just click on Escape button. Click on Preview to check out the drawing before making the printout. Click on Print. Choose a folder. Type the file name and click on Save. In this tutorial, you practiced many tools from the Draw and Modify panels, but mainly it focused on the use of polar tracking and the TTR option of Circle command. And I introduced you to Leaders panel in the Annotate tab, which is used to indicate and define an object. I purposely tried to execute the commands from the ribbon as well as using the shortcuts in order for you guys to be more familiar with the tool's location on the interface. Again, if you want to know more in detail about any tool or command I used during the exercise, I recommend you to watch tutorials 1 to 6. I left you timestamps in the video's description so you can skip around to any chapter or subject you want to review. Remember to subscribe to the channel and click on the alert button to receive more examples to practice.